You are listening to Packers Talk Radio Network.
PackersTalk.com. Eddie Lacy, Mike Daniels, Gilbert Brown, Don Barclay, Micah Hyde, your Green Bay Packers, yesterday's legends and today's superstars. From corporate or non-profit events to private parties, add some spice, hire a Packers player from Mayfield Sports Marketing. For details, just go to PackersTalk.com and click on Player Appearances.
Are you looking for some signed Packer memorabilia?
Look no further than Waukesha Sports Cards.
If the Green Bay Packer can sign it, Waukesha Sports Cards has it.
Check our website for upcoming Packer player and legend signings.
Go to WaukeshaSportsCards.com.
Okay, note to self, it's after the guy sings. I'm never going to get the introduction right. So, hey, Hot Mess Express is back. We got half a pocket tonight. I'm Kelly. Joining me is my brother, Jay. And we have no idea where the other Pocketeers are. Actually, I think Annie's out stomping out fires, and Colleen is whooping it up at Clubhouse because the Crab is in town. So, hello, Tom Crabtree, wherever you are. So, Jay, hi. Happy Thanksgiving. A couple days late.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving to you a couple days late. And about that intro, I just got to say to the world, if they may not know you all that well, so our 4 listeners tonight, they need to know that A, you are a highly educated woman, and B, you're a classically trained musician. So I don't know how you can't master that introduction. It's beyond comprehension how you can't get that right. Every time it's wrong. Every time.
It's like, hey, I think it's getting quiet. It's like, hi, this is Annie. Oh, crap, there's more music.
Yeah, nice going.
Ah, geez, you know, what are we, like 10 games in, and I still get 11 games in? We still can't figure it out. It was so much easier when it just kind of faded. It's like, hey, this is Kelly, and this is out of the pocket. My goal is by the end of the season to get it right. So I failed. I got an F-. Kind of like the Packers did Thursday night.
Well, my goal for the end of the season is to complete a forward pass.
Is it that hard to do? And seriously, my kingdom for a slant route. Come on. How hard is that?
I don't know. There's a lot of things that are head-scratchers, and none of us sit in on the meetings. We don't know what's going on. We can only speculate. So we could just be just waving our hands and talking out our behinds, but there's a lot that
We're really good at that, by the way.
You know, we excel at that. We're masters at it. I agree.
Yes, tapestry of BS. We're very good at weaving that. So we were supposed to lose to the Bears, but we lost to the Bears. I thought they were supposed to suck, but I guess we sucked more.
Well, the defense, I thought, did a pretty admirable job. This defense has been much better than the offense this year, I'll tell you that right now. And the defense is keeping the offense in the games. And the last several losses, the Packers have been in position to potentially tie or take the lead on the final possession of the game. So the defense has done their job. And the offense is struggling. Now, I said earlier this season that Chicago is not as bad as everyone is saying, but even more so not as bad as everyone's hoping for. Packers fans love it when the Bears suck. They love it when they're terrible. And they thought they were going to be an unmitigated dumpster fire this year. And I said, hold on.
No, that would be us.
Hold your horses. The Bears do have some pieces in place, and their coaching staff is phenomenal. And they're going to get every ounce of ability and talent and effort out of those guys they can. And as it showed on Thursday night, the Bears are currently the better team, as much as that breaks my heart. Now, will they be the better team in end of December and January? That's yet to be seen.
Yeah, I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised by how efficient the Bears were. It's like they didn't come in to lose it. That's definitely certain. And it's a sad state of affairs when the better quarterback on the field is Jay Cutler, but I think we also are used to just blowing Jay Cutler off as being horrible when he actually really isn't.
Cutler's good. He's good. He has a swagger back. If you look at Cutler when he was in college at Vanderbilt, and we started off early with the Broncos, and even the first year or so in Chicago, he had swagger, and he's always had arm talent. He's always been a very good passer when he uses his brain. The problem is when he doesn't think things through, he kind of flies by the seat of his pants or just doesn't care. So I got to give all kinds of credit to head coach John Fox and the offensive coordinator Adam Gase. They have him playing within his limits. They have his focus. They have his energy. So they're getting good Jay Cutler. And
they were really surgical where Aaron Rodgers was not. So you saw the game from the television, and I froze to death with Dad at the game. By the way, it was really cold. It's like it was like I wish it would have snowed because it would have been less miserable. But it was like hovering around 33 degrees, so it was like ice cold rain that came down. Rodgers still continues to struggle, and I don't know what's up with that. But he definitely still has the case of the yips. I noticed a couple times, especially on that end drive, there was somebody open in one corner, but he was throwing it out of bounds and just giving it away in the other corner. And I don't know if he's able to go through his progressions. He's running for his life. The pocket did not collapse as quickly as it has in the past couple of games, but he still seemed to be running for his life terrified. And I'm just wondering what you think about that, Jay.
There's a lot going on. And for starters, his receivers aren't doing him any favors at all. They're running sloppy routes. They're rounding off the corners. They're not driving back to the ball. They're just getting kind of lazy and sloppy. And then when the ball does get there, they're dropping it. Or if the ball does get there, they're not fighting back to the ball, so they're not getting any separation from the defenders, and the defender is swatting the ball away. I can't tell you how many times in James Jones' career, and especially this season, where all he has to do is take one or two more steps back towards the quarterback and attack the ball, he'll secure the reception. But he kind of just stops his route and waits for the ball to get there. And while he's waiting for the ball to get there, the cornerback is driving down to the ball and knocking it away. So part of it, the receivers aren't doing him any favors at all, and maybe injuries there. We'll talk about that later. But something is definitely going on mentally, and no one knows what it is. So I'm not even going to speculate what it is.
No,
but he's definitely
what's going on. It's all just a guess.
Yeah, but he's definitely playing in his own head right now. Something is preventing him from just naturally flowing in the game and letting it rip. He's maybe overthinking things. We've heard trust issues. Maybe he's seeing ghosts in the pocket. I don't know, but he's definitely playing in his head. He just by looking at his body language, he's not as cool and confident as he was in the past. Just watch him in 2010 and 2011. The body language is much different than it is today. He's after the plays now. He has his hands on his hips, kind of a scowl on his face a little bit. Doesn't seem to be enjoying the game right now.
No,
but those previous years, he
smacks his helmet a lot, and you're hearing more F-bombs this year than any other year. And I swear to God, your niece Lo picks them all out. It's like, did he just say the F word? I'm like, what do you think, Lauren? Come on.
Yep, and even Al Michaels said, you can tell by what was just said how he feels about that play.
Do you mean that hiked ball, the one like, whoop, past him?
Yep, it was that snap that went, yep.
It's like, oh, fudge, and it wasn't it wasn't fudge, it was the F dash.
It was the F dash
word.
And so I he's going to risk cell poisoning.
Life buoy.
Yeah,
I think, and I learned the term the yips this weekend. I'm like, what the heck are the yips? well, that means you're seeing ghosts. So I'm like, there's really a term for it? I never knew that before. But, yeah, he doesn't seem to be enjoying himself. What I thought was really striking in the victory against the Vikings was he actually was smiling. You never see him smile anymore. And I think that's with anybody. If you're not enjoying your job, you're not having a good time on it, it reflects in your performance. I think we've all been there. I've definitely been there. But you hit on something about sloppy routes. And I know that he's been the scapegoat for everything that's wrong with the Packers right now. But I think Devontae Adams and the interception Thursday night was a great example of an incomplete, messy, half-assed route. And I saw that from me at the game on the field with my binoculars. Do you agree with me on that play when you were watching on TV? And you probably got to see a replay?
I think, if I remember the exact play correctly, I think it was a combination of several things. Maybe a little miscommunication between the quarterback and the receiver on where the route was supposed to break. It may have been a slightly sloppy route, but also I think the defensive back may have cut off the path. So it may not be as simple to blame a sloppy route. There may be other things going on. But that was a definite case of the ball was not at the proper point. And who is at fault? I'm guessing the receiver, but we don't always know.
No, it felt like if he just would have pushed into it, he would have got it. It was my impression. So that's what I'm like, yeah, it's probably on both of them because Rodgers.
I think the defensive back did cut off. I think the defensive back did cut off the route a little bit, and maybe because there was a little bit of obstruction, the receiver quit the route. So who knows? It was not a pretty
exactly
play at all.
I think he gave up on it. But the same thing happened with James Jones getting it knocked down on that last pass. It's like if he would have stepped into it, they would have won the game. And I think it wasn't the greatest pass, so part of it was on Rodgers, but I think James Jones also didn't complete his route, and they jumped it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's frustrating.
Yep.
And then everyone's like, okay, so the name of the show is like Free the Janis, Release the Janis. I don't know. Stevie set it up for us, and he decided to make the show all about Jeff Janis. That's one thing Jeff Janis gets railed for, and that's one thing I've criticized him for. He runs really sloppy routes. But at this point, could he be any worse than anything else that's out on the field? What is your thought on Jeff Janis, Jay?
I have mixed emotions about Jeff Janis, and I'm trying to let my fandom not interfere with my objective take on it. I like the kid. I think he's talented. I think he's got a huge upside. I just don't think he's quite there yet. You watch his routes. They are a little on the sloppy side, but in my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion, I don't know any sort of inside knowledge or anything like that, but I think his sloppy routes aren't necessarily the result of just he doesn't know how to run a route. He doesn't know how to count steps and make a break. I think he knows that. I think it has to do with confidence. I don't think he necessarily knows which route he's supposed to run on various plays. So he lacks that confidence, so he lacks that crisp break. He doesn't know he'd take 10 steps and then stop. He just kind of wanders out there, looks around, and finds an open spot. That works for backyard football. Go to the apple tree and kind of wait for an open spot, underneath the clothesline. But you watch the film, and numerous times he tends to drift into the same areas as other receivers. And the way passing trees are set up, there should never be two receivers that close together. So
okay,
either
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Was it the San Diego game? I'm trying to remember where it was like down by the end zone, and all of a sudden he flew out of nowhere and caught this pass. I think you're on something right there. Where it was, he was like 2 steps away from knocking out Richard Rodgers. I don't think he was supposed to be in that route. Aaron Rodgers is like, oh yes, I intended to pass to Jeff Janis. Well, of course he's not going to throw his teammate under the bus, but it really seemed like he was, just came out of nowhere and was suddenly in Richard Rodgers' route.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people realize just how complex a professional offense is. Very, very rarely is a pass play set up where, okay, you're the number one receiver, you run 10 yards, take a 90-degree angle to the right, and run 5 more yards. Routes are not like that. Routes are very dynamic, that you have to adjust based on the coverage A lot of routes are what are called option routes. You bend your route, you break your route, you change your stem, you change your paces, all those things based on the coverage. So you have to kind of find that little open space depending on what the offense or what the defense gives you. And I don't think JANIS quite has that grasped yet. That's why he kind of wanders around. He's trying to find the space, but he's not finding the same space that Aaron Rodgers is seeing. He's not finding the same space the other receivers are seeing, and that happens. He drifts into the area of other receivers, which should never happen. That's just, and I think that comes with time, practice, and also confidence. When he has confidence in his assignment, and he has confidence in where he's supposed to go, then the routes will be more crisp. He will have a better stem, he'll have a better break, and a better drive towards the ball, and that comes with time. I don't think he's there yet, but he will be. He just needs practice and game time reps. He'll get there.
Okay. So I think that makes a lot of sense. But, you know, if you're watching the game, it is looking like a lot of backyard ball. You know, some of the biggest moving the chains the past couple games have been these kind of out-of-your-butt shovel passes. So, like Eddie Lacy, where it seems like, okay, option 1 not there, option 2 not there, option 3 not there, tight end's gone. I guess I'll just dump it to Lacy as I'm going down. Or it really seems like there's more improvisation that I've seen in the past couple of weeks that I've seen in several years combined.
Well, a lot of that is also the scramble drill. Every team has their own certain rules that are built in, that anytime there's pressure and the quarterback breaks the pocket, there's different rules receivers do. For example, if one common rule is anytime your quarterback is scrambling, you run to the sideline that's near your quarterback. Then we get to the sideline, you run to the end zone. That's the very easiest scramble drill to run. But other scramble drills are your checkdowns, your dump off, which are going to typically be your running back, your fullback, sometimes even your tight end. They need to kind of mirror the quarterback, or kind of like the equivalent of a spy on defense. Wherever the quarterback goes, you mirror them and find a little cushion where it's open. There's no defender between you and the quarterback, so they can dump down. They can do a little shovel. So, and that's something that Mike McCarthy said they practice a lot. They practice the scramble drill a lot. So a lot of those checkdowns and shovel passes and run for your life, shot puts, I think those are kind of by design, but not very elegantly executed.
But I think if anyone can do it, it's Eddie Lacy. It's usually not Starks that's going to. It's like Lacy's there, and that's where they're, you know, the dump off type things are working. And I guess that's something I'm going to look at moving forward is at Lacy when things are breaking down, mirroring Aaron. And I think that's a fascinating fact. I never really realized that's what they do. But thanks for pointing that out to me, Jay.
Well, there's all kinds of scramble drills. Sometimes they run to the flat. Sometimes they run parallel to the quarterback. Those are all different rules. Every offense is different, but you know, they're all the same basic kind of flavor. Find a space between you and your quarterback. Help your quarterback.
You know, another thing I've noticed this year with Rodgers, since we're talking about what's ailing him, is even on that last pass he threw to Jones that could have won the game that went for naught, is he had an avenue to run in himself, and he opted not to. And I've noticed that this year that there's several times it's like he's going to eat the sack, lose 7 yards, when if he would have run, he had a clear enough lane that he wouldn't have gotten clobbered. Have you noticed that, or is that just me being hypercritical?
Well, that's my first gut check, that he's not running as often as he had in the past. But that may be just us looking for that. Maybe we're thinking with revisionist history he ran more in the past. But also he's getting older in age. And I think McCarthy has done a good job telling Rodgers, don't scramble, don't get killed. We have other players that are designed to get hit. They're paid to get hit when you're not, so let them take the hits. And also, I'm not big into conspiracy theories. I'm not into fodder. I'm not into those types of things. But there is always the possibility he's more hurt than people know about. And he's not going to run and risk further injury because of it.
Well, it's something I've thought about all season. And, this is where my day job creeps in, obviously. He had a pretty significant calf tear last year. And I remember reading one of Jason Woolley's articles in the preseason that Jason noted that watching him through, wearing shorts, is he has a weird bulge now where it never really, things didn't come together. He's got a bulge where it shouldn't have a bulge. So I wonder, how close to 100% is that calf? Does he have the speed and the strength in that leg anymore? And I think that's a very valid question. We've seen him limp at various times during the year. Does he have a broken bone in his foot that's not impeding him from playing? But it hurts, so you don't run. That's a possibility. And, again, unsubstantiated. I've never seen an X-ray of Aaron Rodgers. I'm just guessing on things, what I've seen him do on the field. He's held his left hand numerous occasions. We're wondering, did he get hit? Which makes me wonder, he talked about this week that, he took a hit when he got with that sack and hurt his left elbow, and his hand was numb. He wasn't feeling his pinky and his ring finger, which tells me it's a funny bone injury, your ulnar nerve that innervates that half of the hand. Was it aggravated, or was this a pre-existing condition? Is this something that's been bothering him all season? That's when he's grabbing at his hand. It's not because it hurts, because he can't feel it. And that's a question I have as well. Again, I'm just speculating. These are all things that I'm factoring. Why isn't he moving well? Why isn't he running well? Why isn't he passing well? And then, someone I work with said, do you think he's been concussed all season? I'm like, no, I don't think I ever saw him take a hit to the head or he would have lingering side effects. Do I sound off base on this, trying to mark down what could possibly be wrong physically, or am I just making stuff up, Jay?
No, I don't think you're too far off base. I think there's many things going on. There's definitely the mental game. I think he's playing way too inside his head right now. He is getting up there in age. He's, 31? That's not old by any
count. He'll be 32 in 2 days, which if you say that's old, I'm going to go down to Savannah. I'm going to reach this phone and rip your lungs up through your nostril, okay?
Well, that sounds very, very appealing. But he's not the 27-year-old. He's not the 27-year-old that came out of essentially in Brett Favre's shadow and set the world on fire. He's taken a lot of hits. He's had a lot of injuries. And another thing that is an effect of injuries is you lack confidence in your own body. So this also relates to like Davante Adams as well. So we'll kind of segue a little bit in addition to Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, let's talk about Davante.
But let's finish talking about Aaron first. So if Aaron has taken hits in the past, and he has had some pretty substantial injuries, the calf injury was a major injury. The broken collarbone was a major injury. And these injuries
don't tell me he's not scared to get, every time he gets going, he goes down, just like Tony Romo. It's like, oh my God, please don't let it break this time.
Yeah, exactly. So even though the body may have healed, the mind hasn't yet. And they always say the biggest obstacle from coming back from an ACL injury isn't the ACL itself, it's the confidence in making a cut. You're worried you're going to blow it out again. You're worried you don't have strength there. So I wonder if a little bit of Aaron Rodgers' problems are he's just mentally not over his injuries. Because when he was on the radio show last year with Wildy, or 2 years ago, whatever it was, with the collarbone, you could feel like his eyes were watering up. He was almost crying. We said it's a very substantial injury. So and we can transition now, segue to Davante Adams.
Hold on, one thing before you segue on is I also like to point out that a lot of people forget is that Rodgers has a reconstructed knee. When he was 17 or something, he blew his knee out, and sometime between high school and college, he had it repaired. So he also has that going for him, too. He's got a reconstructed knee.
So he has a lot of injuries on his mind, and he's taken a lot of hits. It wasn't too long ago he had Marshall Newhouse as his left tackle, so never forget that either. So kind of transition to Davante Adams. He has had a major ankle injury all year, and I think they rushed him back, and he re-hurt it. And people are going to complain about Davante Adams running sloppy routes, not having very crisp breaks, not attacking the ball.
But he won't be able to cut. That's for certain.
Yeah. I'm not convinced his ankle's fully healed yet. He's a trooper. He's giving it his all on a bum ankle. And think about what receivers need to do. Receivers need to start fast, and they need to stop fast, and they need to turn fast. It's all about explosion. And they need their ankles to explode. And I'm not convinced his ankle's healed. He's still hurt. So that's going to affect his speed. That's going to affect his takeoff. That's going to affect his stopping power. It's going to affect his turning power. So some of his sloppy route running may be technique and may be lack of preparation, but it also may be injury. But then another thing is, let's say the ankle is almost fully healed. Well, that's going to impact his confidence because the Packers rushed him back, and he hurt it again. So every time he goes out and makes a cut, is he thinking to himself, this is the time it's going to be re-hurt again? He just saw Ty Montgomery re-injure his ankle in practice because the Packers were pushing him back as well. So,
and he has a different type of injury. He has a high ankle sprain, which is a totally different ligament involved. And those do take 4 to 8 weeks to heal, and I think they were rushing him back at 4 weeks.
So think about what goes through the mind of an athlete. Physical injuries take time to heal, but the mental aspect takes longer to heal. So if Davante Adams is running a route on an ankle that's not 100%, in the back of his mind at all times, is he thinking to himself, maybe even just subconsciously, not actively, but subconsciously, I need to make a really sharp cut now. If I cut it too sharp, will I re-hurt it? Or if I round it off a little bit, I can live for another down. So that aspect is probably going on in all times of injuries, that just the mental confidence is at play. So I'm not willing to chalk up Davante Adams as a bust. I mean, I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter this last week. He's a bust, trade him, he's a bum, all these awful things. I think
that's
he's
a little
the real
extreme.
Deal. It's very extreme. He's the real deal. He has a little bit of sophomore slump, which is expected. He ran a totally different system in college than the pros run. So it needs time to learn that. And he missed practice time, he missed game time with injury, so he lost those reps. And let's remember, with the new CBA, players don't get as much practice time anymore. So they essentially need to play themselves into shape. They get their practice during the games a lot of times now. So he's missed all that. Then on top of that, he has the mental aspect where he doesn't trust the injury yet, doesn't trust the recovery yet. So all those things are going together. And also, he's probably hearing what people are saying. He's probably reading Twitter. And, you know, he's a young guy. These things are going to get him down and affect his confidence. There's a lot going on in that young man's mind right now. So I'm going to give him a complete, clean slate. He gets all the slack in the world right now. Let him play his way through it. Just let him do it. He'll get there. He's good.
I think he may be onto something. Talking about injuries you never really let go of. I think about that article a couple years ago that Aaron Rodgers wrote for ESPN magazine. I cited it when I was writing an article once. It was his letter to himself, his 17-year-old self. Starts with, let the ball go out of bounds. And the whole first half of it is about him blowing his knee out. So it's obviously something that is on his mind on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah. The mental recovery is longer than the physical recovery because you don't know if you're going to re-injure it. With ACLs, with backs, with necks, with collarbones. And you could tell in this last Thursday game with the Cowboys, when Romo hit the ground, the first reaction was, oh my gosh, is the collarbone? Then he checked it, he knew right away it was. So all those thoughts went through his head in a second. I mean, instantly.
Have you ever broken a bone?
I did. I broke my foot.
Okay. How did you do that?
I told you about this. I did this back in grad school, and you asked why, and I said because I have a medical condition. It's I'm fat. I broke it because I was fat.
Okay, yeah. Okay, was it an acute break or was it a stress fracture that got the game?
I don't know. I never got checked out. You diagnosed me over the phone.
Yeah, I know. I told you you had a broken foot. Well, anyway, if you acutely break a bone, and I did this to my hand in college, which, by the way, I was not drunk. I was playing. It was a study break for finals. I was playing tackle, capture the flag. Yeah, that sounds like about as smart as it.
No drinking involved. You did not go that route. You did not sip that beer when you were 15. Okay, we got that all the way.
Okay, honestly, it was reading day for finals. We went out, and I'm like, I can't study anymore.
And no one ever drinks on reading day. Never.
Okay, I'm saying I didn't drink that day. Okay, other days possible.
I did my most serious drinking on reading day.
Gee. Well, anyway, when it came down on my hand, I heard it. And you break your collarbone, like my brother-in-law broke his collarbone in a motorcycle race. He heard it. As soon as you come down, you hear a crunch. And you know. Like, Roger's trying to take his pads off, whatever. Like, let me throw that stuff, he's fine. I'm like, BS. You knew it was broken. But, yeah, I think you're totally right. You carry these injuries with you through your life. Case in point, totally unsports-related. When I was 13 years old, my idiot neighbor tripped me and had my hand pinned behind me, and I smashed face first into their kitchen floor and knocked my front tooth out. To this day, 30 years later, I have dreams about all my teeth coming out. And it's a major anxiety dream that I have to this day. So, yeah, I think if you blew your knee out or broke a bone in a game, you're going to be a little apprehensive moving forward, or maybe even have, dreams of your teeth falling out like I did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's cut Davante Adams some slack. So, and you think the solution to Jeff Janis is more Jeff Janis?
Well, the title of the show is Unleash the Kraken, Janis, whatever.
No,
put
it's
in there.
Jeff Janis, I think. Whatever CD's like, well, I just took the liberty upon myself. If you guys couldn't get your act together to come up with a title, I'm like, oh, you're more ENTP than I am. Awesome.
Well, I do think Jeff Janis deserves a little more playing time, but he's not proved to me. It doesn't matter to me. I shouldn't even say I get a vote in this. But I don't think he's proved to the coaching staff he can master the passing routes yet. But big vote of confidence, though.
I hate to say it, but they have more trust in a very hurt Jared Abbrederis right now. And it sounds like he's slowly easing back into practice. And that's the thing. If he broke ribs, it's a pain issue. Who cares if it's broken if it doesn't hurt? If it hurts, you don't play. But he seems, he's also got, 2 years of classroom work under his belt, too. So, he definitely knows the ins and outs.
Also with Abbrederis, his scouting report coming out of college is very polished, precise routes. So he doesn't have to learn the routes. He already knows them.
He knows them. And he's a scouting boy, so I'm going to give him a benefit of the doubt, too. So I think so before we move on to the defense, what were your thoughts?
Well, we need to finish with Janis, though. I have a couple thoughts.
Okay, Janis, back to Janis. Sorry, I interrupted you, which just drives you bananas.
I know, it drives me nuts. I'm going to send you a bag. I'm going to send you a bag with something in it that you light on fire yourself. Okay.
I have the dog with the dog poo. So where are you going to get this dog poo, Jay? You're just going to go around.
All the listeners out there,
her bag.
Yeah, her dog's name is Steve, by the way. It's not Angus.
Angus.
Call her dog Steve because she loves
Every time you call him Steve, he looks at you with like, who the F is Steve?
Steve's a good name for a dog. All right.
Get a dog
named
Steve, okay?
I don't want a dog. With Janis, I think he will get more playing time, but he hasn't proven to the coaches he can be trusted in the passing game yet. But a big vote of confidence came when he was just named the starting kick returner. And that's because he's good. He's very good with the ball in his hand moving through space. He's fast. He's fearless. He's good at weaving around. That's perfect for a kick returner. But he doesn't have the precision to run the routes yet. So the solution is more Janis in time, but he's not the only solution. I think a bigger problem, and we can call an audible here. We can talk about defense later, so we can call an audible.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about defense later.
So the audible is, I think one of the things that we've not talked about yet, which other people are thinking, is we are kind of pointing at a lot of the symptoms of the bigger problem. We're talking about kind of like I don't know, the runny nose is a symptom of a cold, but we're not talking about the underlying virus. So things like Aaron Rodgers in his head, not trusting receivers, running sloppy routes, all those things, I think those are potentially symptoms of a larger problem.
I think I know where you're going with this.
The larger problem is the offense has no identity right now. They have no direction. They have no identity. You hear that term a lot. Every time you're watching a broadcast on football, they always use the term identity. What do they want to accomplish, and how do they do it, and how good are they at doing it? The Packers' offense does not have identity right now. So that's going to magnify all the symptoms. No identity, so there's no trust in the receivers. No identity, there's stagnant play calls. No identity, all predictable passes. No identity, sloppy routes. No identity, all this. Those are all symptoms of a larger problem. There's no identity.
Okay. Do you remember when you were a kid playing the game telephone?
Yes.
Okay, so for people out there who don't know what I'm talking about, it's a game you play like as a little like a grade schooler, where you've got a line of kids, and the first person whispers something into one kid's ear, and it could be like, I like yellow lollipops or something, and then you whisper to the next person what you thought you heard, and you whispered on and on and on, and by the time you get to the last kid and they have to announce what they think they heard, it's like hippopotamus to the bedside. And I think a lot of things are lost in translation. And I wonder, with so many figureheads controlling the offense, whether it's Alex Van Pelt in charge of Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Clements as the play caller, where he used to be the offensive coordinator, and Edgar Medin, who's now the offensive coordinator. I don't know what he really does. And then, you got Mike McCarthy overseeing it all. It's like you have so many cooks in the soup, or too many kids playing telephone, that the message is really diluted from what they wanted to do into what gets executed on the field, and it just drives me bananas. And I honestly don't know what Edgar Bennett, if he's the offensive coordinator, is he the one that's in charge of, installing new offensive packages? Is that his role? Because
I'm not sure exactly how the Packers go about it, but traditionally the offensive coordinator, he installs the game plan each week and basically directs the practice of the game plan. Okay,
so who's the wide receiver coach right now, or is he still double dip? Is it him double dipping with?
It's Doughboy. Doughboy Van Pelt is double dipping the receivers and the quarterbacks.
Okay, so there's a problem. If you don't have your quarterbacks and your receivers all on the same page, and it's all one coach, is the message getting lost there? Question number one, Jay.
I don't think that's the problem. I think it's actually to the benefit of the receivers and the quarterbacks to have the same coach in the same room, watching the same film, talking about it.
So then you don't have that communication breakdown right there. So then we have this, black box or whatever Edgar Bennett does. And then he kind of gets cut off at the knees because he's not calling the plays. And then you have Tom Clements calling the plays. What is his this is where I wish I could be a fly on the wall in the meeting room to figure out what they all do. Because it seems like if you've got Bennett that's installing the packages, and then you have Clements, is he helping Bennett with that? Is he having any say, or is he just kind of going rogue with that? Because he has no killer instinct.
Well, that's what we don't know.
He runs a very pedestrian offense.
We don't know what's going on because even though when Mike Holmgren was the head coach, Sherm Lewis was the offensive coordinator, damn well Mike Holmgren was designing the plays, he was installing the plays in practice, he was calling the plays. So Sherm Lewis basically was OC and title only. He was probably more so just someone who helped run the practices and was the eye in the sky giving suggestions to Mike during the game, like the defense is running this package, those types of things. So I don't know who's specifically designing the game plan. It could be McCarthy. It could be Clements. It could be Bennett. We don't know. And that's why we need to have a special guest tell us sometime, like one of the beat reporters can come on our show or something like that sometime and tell us what they think about it. So the problem is there's no clear-cut leader, perhaps, who's designing the game plan and saying, this is what we're going to run regardless. So who knows who's so like you said, too many chefs in the kitchen.
Too many chefs in the kitchen. And if it truly is this disastrous and we can't figure it out, which we never will because we're not part of the team, is the offense getting confused by it as well? Because you've got 4 people in charge, and it's like, if I had that many people to answer to at work, I would pull every one of every hair off my head off. It would drive me bananas. It's like, you're answering, and one person wants to do one thing, one person wants to do something else, and if they aren't on the same page, it's a recipe for just implosion, if you ask me.
It is.
Okay, so go ahead.
Well, here's another thing to consider. So last year and the year before, the Packers' offense was clicking all cylinders. This year, it's not. And I'm a big believer in parsimony and simplest explanation may be the best, all those things, because I'm a scientist. That's what we do. I'm thinking, what is different between this year and last year? We have basically all the same personnel, except Jordy Nelson. But I'm not going to blame that because I don't think it matters. New England can put the fifth-string popcorn salesman out on the receiver, and he'll still catch the ball. So I'm not going to put this on Jordy Nelson.
No, I think the problem we're proving it's much bigger than Jordy Nelson.
It is bigger than Jordy Nelson. I think what the problem is, there was all this promotion going on in the coaching staff, and that disrupted whatever they had. They had lightning in a bottle in the past. They had McCarthy calling the plays, probably designing the game plan, Clements working with the quarterbacks and giving input, and Bennett was the wide receivers coach. All these promotions this year are well-deserved, but I think it kind of disrupted that lightning in a bottle because Edgar Bennett, everyone said Edgar Bennett was this most outstanding wide receivers coach, and the wide receivers showed it. Jordy Nelson, fantastic. Randall Cobb, fantastic. Devontae Adams came on strong last year. James Jones in the past was pretty good. So Edgar Bennett did a lot of teaching of receivers. And that's just it. The position coaches do the teaching. The higher-ups, like the head coach and the coordinators, they do the design and implementation. So I think a lot of the receiver play this year, I think they might miss Edgar Bennett as the receivers coach. And I'm not going to, bag on Van Pelt. He could be a very excellent coach, but I don't know he's necessarily as good as a wide receivers coach as Edgar Bennett. And I think some of that is starting to show on the field. And is Edgar Bennett a good offensive coordinator? I don't know. He could be great, but the on-field product is obviously disrupted because they've disrupted that lightning in a bottle from last year.
So do you think if they over-promoted, do you think you end up with the Peter Principle at the end of the day?
I don't know, probably. I don't know if they over-promoted or what. I'm just speculating, but they definitely disrupted that flow and that harmony last year.
The executive director of, it's like these kind of artificial titles. It's like Clements isn't just the play caller. He's like the assistant head coach, which is kind of this nebulous non-job.
Yep. Well, also, at this point in people's careers, they're not going to change a whole lot. All their learning and mentoring by others is done. Tom Clements was a play caller, I think, for the Buffalo Bills a while ago. And the same criticisms you read about him then are the same things you're reading about now. Plays are slow to come in. You can see Rodgers get frustrated when plays are slow to come in. You can see it. He'll tap his helmet. He'll tap his helmet, he'll point to the sidelines, he'll shrug his shoulders. The play is late coming in. So Clements doesn't have the same rhythm as a play caller. And also other criticisms I've read in the past about Clements calling plays in Buffalo were just predictability and stagnant and just not leaving the foot on the gas and stubbornness. And those are the same things we're kind of seeing now. So, I mean, at this point, he is who he is. He's not going to change anymore.
And I think you nailed it right on the head, that there's a definite element of predictableness and stubbornness. I think I can count more times than all the other seasons combined where Aaron Rodgers looks at the sideline and goes, what the F was this play? It's like he's questioning it, from the huddle or after a play just implodes. Like, what the hell was that? And I think a great example was, 4th and 1, Thursday night, and they decide they're going to run it from Eddie Lacy, 7 yards back from the pistol. It's like, oh, yeah, that's really going to work well. Now you got an 8-yard one where you could have just, leaned forward and you would have got it. There's some really predictable and some really bonehead stuff. And what my biggest criticism of Tom Clements is he's so quick to give up the run. And, Eddie Lacy, he fumbled the ball, but then they gave up on Eddie Lacy for the rest of the game. And that was the one thing that was working up until that point.
Well, that may have been a head coach decision. A lot of head coaches
you're letting
have the
all
rules.
of your receivers drop stuff, but, Eddie screws up once, and, we're going to bench him for most of the game then. It just seemed really short-sighted.
Well, a lot of coaches, including Holmgren, and I know McCarthy has said this in the past, you fumble, you're sitting out X number of series because there's no tolerance for fumbles. That's just the way it is.
That's so arbitrary because up until then, he was the only thing clicking on the offense. So let's punish him and go, make him sit in timeout until the pre-ascribed, set of time while the offense just falters. See, that,
I know, but
you
have to be consistent as a coach.
What? It's like Dad saying, you got, I'm going to count to 4. It's like, why not 3, Dad? Oh, damn it, I'm counting to 4.
You have to be consistent as a coach. You can't bend your rules based on in-game situations. I mean, then you'll lose your own credibility. You'll lose respect. So if a coach has a rule, you fumble.
But then don't make them sit like this prescribed, okay, you saw your mistake, because that's one thing. When I played soccer in high school, Coach Van Den Hogen, you knew who he was. I don't think you played for him, right?
Yep.
Well, anyway, if you were screwing up on the field, he'd pull you out, but it wasn't to punish you. It was you're going to stand next to the coach and you're going to watch and he's going to point things out to you. So that when you go back in, you're not going to make that mistake again. It wasn't a punitive benching. It was a constructive feedback benching. And when you take Lacy out just to punish him because, okay, you dropped the ball, so go sit, kid, it's not very constructive. It's like, okay, like I said, up until that point, he was the one thing that was really going, not bad for the offense, and now we're just mad at you, so you're going to sit.
Well, yes, I see your point, but also another thing that doesn't get talked about enough in any football circle is this expression gets overplayed a lot, but in this case it's true as well. Coaches truly believe in next man up. They have a roster for a reason. Everyone on that roster has been deemed physically and mentally able to accomplish the tasks on the field. So they don't care who the next guy is. When you put a guy in, you expect them to perform. You expect that the offense or defense to not miss a beat. So if Eddie gets benched because he's screwed up, next man up is going to be Starks. They expect Starks to run the offense just the same as Eddie does. They don't care who the next guy is, as long as the next guy is ready to go. That's the way it works.
It almost seems like cutting off your nose to spite your face at times. And, you know, I coach, you know, definitely on a peewee level. I've got my little flying squirrels that I coach in soccer. Yeah, I'll pull someone out if they're not doing well. But then it's like, okay, who can actually fill that position and not suck even more is what I'm also thinking. Yeah, I'm not going to just, you know, suddenly make them suck because I want to prove a point. It's like, okay. But like I said, I think it's cutting off your nose to spite your faces sometimes. And again, that's that stubbornness of the offense where I think can be a detriment at times. Yeah, I can see being consistent and sending a message. But at the same time, it's like, then why make the offense suffer just to prove a point? And I think back to high school, you know, like Coach Vandenhoven was really good about, you know, constructive feedback. One time he was mad at half the team because they had gone out and partied and they were like totally stuck in winning the game. And so he pulled them all up just to punish them. And then we got our butts handed to us. And I'm like, oh my God, I need a break. I've been playing this whole game running back and forth. I'm like, I don't normally play midfield. And I was sucking wind. And he's like, nope, not putting him in. And we got clobbered 8-0, and it was like, that's really stupid. If your point is to win games and you just you're gonna throw it away because you're mad at somebody, it just seems just foolhardy, if you want my honest opinion.
Well, another thing that may also be missing completely is maybe Eddie wasn't being punished. Maybe it was Starks' turn to go in the game because they do rotate carries. So we may be quick to blame or quick to point out that Eddie was punished, when maybe it's not the case. Because sometimes coaches do go right back to that guy. So when a receiver drops the ball, next play, go back to that receiver. A running back fumbles the ball, next time the running back gets the ball immediately. So sometimes coaches do go back. So it may be punishment. We don't know. It may be also just the natural rotation. It was Starks' turn to go. We don't know.
Yeah, I guess
so I'm playing both sides on that. I'm playing both sides.
Honestly, that's what every podcast is about. It's like trying to second-guess the professional. It's like, okay, I've got a day job that has nothing to do with football, but I'm going to try to, throw my 2 cents in.
So I was doing some thinking. Thinking. And first of all, I love Edgar Bennett. I loved him as a player. I loved him as a receivers coach.
I adore him. I'm totally with you on that.
And I think he's probably doing a great job as offensive coordinator. I don't know. He's probably doing a great job. But I think the Packers definitely miss him as receivers coach because he had the best core set of receivers in the NFL under his tutelage. Suddenly he gets promoted. I think that the receivers miss that coaching. I don't have an opinion of Clements. I mean, I don't know. He has the personality of a piece of paper. He may be really gifted offensively. I don't know. But this is my dream solution, and I know it'll never happen. This will never, ever, ever happen in a million years for a million reasons because you can't demote coaches after you promote them and all these things. But my perfect coaching staff right now or even next season would be McCarthy takes over the play calling again because one thing that we miss is his play calling. Let's say it. Yes, McCarthy tends to do weird things every now and then, and his tensions were taken away from other aspects of the game. But he really is a gifted play caller. He gets in a rhythm and goes.
And he has a killer instinct at times, which I think Clements lacks.
Yep. So I want McCarthy back calling plays. I want Edgar Bennett to coach the receivers again. Maybe he can still be OC, maybe not, but I want Edgar Bennett coaching the receivers. And also, this is never going to happen, but this would just make my whole day, and I'll let you run with this after I say it. This is my controversy for the day. This is my $1 million idea that's going to, fluff a lot, get a lot of others in a ruffle. Bring back Joe Philbin.
Yes, I was going to say that, yes, because that's the one thing Rodgers really lamented on his radio show the year after he was gone, is how he really missed his presence.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the Yodas for Aaron Rodgers, and I think one of the biggest problems right now is we are lacking a quarterback whisperer.
Yep. I love Joe Philbin. Did he bomb in Miami? Yes, but he's not head coach material, obviously, but he's OC material.
He was Super Bowl caliber, victorious OC material.
Yes, he's a really good coach. And those of you listening, if you like football X's and O's and like technique and like true, honest commentary, follow Matt Bowen, former Packer, X and O guru. I interact with him occasionally on Twitter. He's one of those few guys that has a blue check mark but still interacts with people that don't. He's really good about it. And I had a brief conversation with him about a year or two ago. Joe Philbin was on the coaching staff at Iowa when Matt Bowen was there. And he had nothing but excellent things to say about Joe Philbin. Just what a wonderful coach he is, what a great football mind he is, just how good of a teacher he is, just nothing but great things to say about Joe Philbin. So
he seems like he's a very calming presence as well,
Yeah,
and
he's very even-keeled.
He may not have been the quarterback's coach, but I think he was the quarterback whisperer.
He was the OC. He started off as offensive line coach, and then he was the OC. But obviously the OC meets with the quarterbacks daily, go over game plans. And good OCs, and even good head coaches, I don't know if this is going on, but when I watched a lot of Hard Knocks, I watched a lot of other NFL Network specials, and I read a lot of crap on football. And what the best coaches do in the league, like right now I consider the best coaches like Bill Belichick. I consider Bruce Arians one of the best coaches. And this is going to get me a lot of heat, but I think Sean Payton is one of the best coaches in the NFL too. Say what you want about Bountygate, Sean Payton's a good coach. And all three of those guys, they meet with their quarterbacks every week, and they say, what plays do you want to run on first down? What plays do you want to run on third down? What plays do you want for blitz protections? They pick their quarterback's mind and get feedback. And I'm pretty sure Mike McCarthy did that in the past, and maybe Philbin did it, but who knows what's going on now with all those chefs in the kitchen? Who's having a conversation with Rodgers? Is it Bennett? Is it Clements? Is it McCarthy? Who's asking Aaron?
Or are they making Aaron sit at the kiddie table while they cook dinner?
Exactly. So who knows? Who's having the conversation, or are they having it at all? So who knows?
Yeah, because I think, wasn't it Philbin? Yeah, he was still there. The game where Matt Flynn threw for like 6 touchdowns, and Aaron got to be play caller for a half.
Yeah, that was 2011.
That was, proof that Philbin trusted Aaron to also go rogue. And is he cut off at the knees right now where he can't go rogue? It's like, okay, we're going to run this really stupid play that he's going to question. You can see him go, what was that? Yeah. Where, I think he was able to check out of plays and go audibly more and just kind of go rogue at times. But I don't think he's doing that right now. And I don't know if that's a confidence issue or if they have just shackled him where he can't.
Yep. And I was thinking about this as well, and this relates to your point about taking some control away from Aaron Rodgers. Last year, the Packers ran a lot of packaged plays. And a packaged play essentially is a run-pass option. So like the quarterback's either in the shotgun or the pistol, and the pistol's when the running back's behind the quarterback and shotgun's when the running back to the side. And the snap of the ball, the quarterback holds the ball out in the gut of the running back and quickly surveys the field. And his receivers are running pass routes. And the quarterback then has to make an instant decision. Do I let the running back take the ball and run, or do I take the ball back, tuck it, and fire it to a receiver? That's a package play. And last year, towards the middle of the season, end of the season, they did a lot of that. And this year, I've not watched every snap like I did last year. I don't have time. I actually have a real job and stuff. But last year I watched every snap, and they did a lot of
What are you
package
talking
plays.
about? You have the same job you had last year.
Yeah, well, I have more stuff to do now.
Right.
So this year I've not watched every snap, but I don't recall seeing any packaged plays at all.
And there's also very little read option, if you've noticed. It's like very rare now. It's like you don't see him take off running.
He's not a read option quarterback. He never was. That's.
But he used to do more, though. He's not doing it at all right now.
He would do more scrambling. He would maybe run some bootlegs, which is another thing. The Packers don't run a lot of bootlegs. They don't move the pocket very much anymore.
No.
So the Packers
the Packers' offense is different than last year's and previous years. They different play calls, different play designs, and a lot of it is because there's no identity. They're searching for identity right now. They're grasping at what they can, and it's just not working.
Yeah, I don't know where to go from there. So I don't know. And the other question I asked the other night, which was kind of a hyperbolic question of, doom and gloom, I doubt this is the case. But if you have this confusion with the leadership, have the coaches lost the locker room? I know that'd be like worst case, grab your ankles, kiss your butt goodbye type scenario. We're going to crash and burn, and have the coaches lost the locker room? I'm just going to put that out there.
I don't think so. Because the telltale signs of losing the locker room are players throwing each other under the bus. And there has been some whining going on, this and that.
But they aren't blaming each other, you're right.
There hasn't been the colossal, everyone's getting bus tossed. So to me, and also right now I do know, based on what I read in published articles and what I read on Twitter from players tweeting and also reporters tweeting, the team is unified right now. They've circled the wagons because they feel like they are under attack from multiple sources, multiple reporters, those types of things. So they are unified there. So and a team that's lost the locker room would not be unified. They would get their fiddles out and watch Rome burn. They want to go down in a blaze of glory, but the team is unified. It's a brotherhood. They stick with each other. They've circled the wagons, and that's a sign of a strong locker room.
Okay, so you saw the rumors that there was a players-only meeting, and then Rodgers like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah. So either they didn't meet, or there's a mutiny, which I'm going to think they just didn't meet. I don't think there's the sniping you'd see like in other places where like, a good example, the 49ers, where they're all throwing Kaepernick under the bus right now. And I swear to God, there is a ministry of whisperers, if you get the Game of Thrones reference, there's a ministry of whisperers in the front office of the 49ers that like, sandbagged Harbaugh, and I think they're sandbagging Kaepernick, where you don't have the minister of whisperers in Green Bay, which I think is reassuring. Nobody's getting thrown under the bus, like you said.
Well, if you also want to see a locker room that was lost, speaking of Joe Philbin, he was fired from Miami this year, and they have interim coaches down there. They're firing everyone left and right. They're firing coordinators. Miami's a mess right now, just a mess. That locker room's completely gone. Then you have people like Ndamukong Suh leading his team, his players only meeting, saying, I run this defense. It runs through me. I have this big contract. You don't. You won't be here next year.
I'm captain of this elevator, and we're stopping.
And we're stopping at every floor.
Okay.
So
when you read that soundbite, did you not say that in your head when you saw us be right there? You're like, I'm captain of this. You must have said it out loud too. I'm like, I'm captain of this elevator.
Actually, no, I didn't think of that. I thought to myself. Actually, what I thought to myself was what Cam Newton said about Ndamukong Suh. He called him Donkey Kong Sue a couple of years ago.
Which I think is awesome. Speaking of Cam Newton, can I just say that Lane Kiffin's kid wins the internet?
Oh, why? What did Lane Kiffin do?
Okay, his little kid is out on the field after they beat Auburn, dabbing and kissing his bicep.
Oh, I didn't see that. I was too busy.
He won the internet, just so you know, roll tide. But yeah,
roll tide.
When Ndamukong Suh said that, I'm like, all I could think of was, so Crime Wave. It's the one Coen Brothers movie that tanked in the 80s. It has what's Bruce's last name?
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell, Groovy Bruce. He's in it, and it's just the funniest. You'll never find it. You might be able to find a used copy on Amazon. And one of the lines is this little kid is like in the elevator, and as people walking, he's like, I'm captain of this elevator, and we're stopping at every floor.
Yeah, exactly. So getting back to my point, that is a sign of a lost locker room. And Ndamukong Suh pulling that crap, you don't see that in Green Bay. Julius Peppers, Aaron Rodgers, Randall Cobb, they're not saying, this team runs for me, I have a big contract, I'll be here, but you won't be. You don't see that. Instead, you have players denying they had players-only meetings in the first place. Now, I'm a believer that when there's smoke, there's a little fire. And also, I think Chris Collinsworth during the Thursday night broadcast talked about that. That
like
there's
the
a players
video
only
game
meeting.
issues, it's like, oh, they're playing video games too much, or that was that said that.
So maybe that wasn't.
I don't care what he thinks.
Yeah, well, that's fine. So when there's smoke, there's a little fire. Was there something going on? Probably, but it may not have been a full-blown players-only meeting. So, and also, if someone in the broadcast booth is going to say these things, that has come from the production team. That was something that was researched and vetted and passed on to Collinsworth and say, this is a talking point you should bring up during the game. And we may even have an infographic for you. So that was something that came out of the production meetings. How the production meeting got it, we don't know. Was there a leak? Were they speculating? Were they making it up? I don't know. But there's probably a little something there. Because
so
it wasn't
if there was
really
a players-only meeting and Rogers knew nothing about it, would that be a bad thing?
Well, first of all, players don't necessarily need to advertise players-only meetings. Because what's the point if everyone knows about it? So, and that's another sign of a strong locker room. So we may have a meeting, we may not. You'll never know because we're unified. We have solidarity here.
Okay, you're going to cringe, but you were in the Greek system in college too. We won't mention what you used to belong to because you're not happy about it. But did you have like a brothers-only meeting? Because when I was in my sorority, we would have, if things went pear-shaped, we would call a meeting where everybody, they called it a thought candle or something, something cute and sorority-like. But it would be like, okay, without the leadership, if things went pear-shaped about a big disaster, where everyone could have their fair share of having the floor. Is that what a players' meeting is like? Or is that just where they start pointing fingers and screaming at each other? Because I don't know. I've never played football.
Well, I don't know exactly what goes on in NFL players-only meeting, but I can tell you what happened when I played football and we had players-only meetings. The team captains and team leaders, they get in the locker room, say everyone in the locker room now, coaches everyone out, they lock the doors, and they would just have a rally. They'd say, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. We're a team. We all live together or die together, but either way, we're going to do it together. Those types of things. It's very, very positive, very encouraging, but also kind of a put up or shut up mentality as well.
Mm-hmm.
Say, so you're going to be with us or you're not with us. You're with us or you're out. So if you want to quit the team now, quit now. We won't judge you, get out, but we need to move forward. So it's very unifying. And typically the captains or the locker room leaders are the ones that led it. So if the Packers
question. If they had a meeting, would it be in their best interest to deny that they had a meeting too? Because if you're having a meeting, there's a problem. So Aaron's like, what meeting? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, yes, I would deny.
And he's a horrible little liar too. It's like, I want to play him in poker because I'm going to clean up because he has a horrible poker face.
Well, I also don't think he gave an outright denial. I forget the exact quote he used, but it wasn't a real...
Like, we didn't call a meeting, I think is what he said. Something like, okay, I did not sleep with you. I did not, like Bill something. I did not have sex with that woman. It's like, okay, we're going to define is.
Yeah, it depends what the meaning of the word is. So he said something along the lines like, it didn't happen like that the way you think. No, something like very ambiguous like that. So
they totally met. He's not going to admit it.
So where there's smoke, there's fire. Was it a full 53-man locker room only meeting, coaches kicked out? Maybe, maybe not. May have been just the captains getting together. May have been a meeting here and there in the position rooms, like the wide receivers got together. Who knows? But something probably went on. And
so
that's
hopefully
not
something productive.
And that's not something you'd want to always admit, because that defeats purpose. Otherwise, have a coaches meeting, have a press conference.
Like I said, when I was in a sorority, when things went pear-shaped, that's when we had sisters meetings. It's like, all right, everyone in the chapter room at 9 o'clock tonight. I don't care where you're going to be. You have to be here tonight. That's the sense I get of a players' meeting. It's like something just exploded in my sorority, and now we're going to be meeting.
Yeah. And there's this old quote I love. I don't know who said it, but it's genius. And it said, character is defined by how you act when you think no one is watching. So if the Packers wanted to have this, great glorified walk through the motions, hey, we had a team-only meeting, that defeats purpose. But if you have it behind closed doors, no one's watching, that's where the real team growing takes place. And you
Yeah,
don't
I
advertise
have a sense
it.
that's what happened.
You don't confirm it. You don't deny it, but you don't confirm it. And just whatever took place will stay in that room and never get out. Because
and
once you
don't
start
ask
talking
Aaron
about
Rodgers because he's a bit like Lowe. It's like, Lauren, who broke the lamp? I can say it was not Maddie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the type of answers. It's like you're going to get that type of answer from Aaron Rodgers. Like, Aaron, did you meet? Define meeting. You're going to get a low answer from low isn't my kid low. If you're going to get an answer like Lauren, it's like, Lauren, who poops on the floor? The dog is in the house somewhere.
So define video games. Are you talking about home consoles or tablet games or phone games? Are we talking about PS4
Are we going back to television?
So, or are we talking about Angry Birds here? I mean, what is your definition of video games?
Is it a free app or do I log on to play?
Is it in-game purchases?
Exactly. I think the whole fact that Florio hung on to video games, and is that just a metaphor for you've got a bunch of young guys that are kind of immature that really do play a lot of Call of Duty, and when they really should be doing their homework, possibly. But the fact
I
that
don't
they
know.
got
It's
so specific about it, there's got to be some credence to it.
Yeah, just a different age, different mentality. So, yeah. Well, we're at the top of the hour. We haven't talked about defense. Let's just say
defense wasn't
good.
bad. Can I just finish up with? Do we need a new punter?
Do we need a what?
Do we need a new punter? Because good golly, fat old me, I think he punt further than Mastay did this past week. And I know I can't.
No, Mastay's a good punter. Those are horrible conditions. I'll give him a pass. But here's also why you don't get rid of Mastay. Because Mason Crosby loves him.
That's true.
Mason Crosby had the shank of his life, but some people listening can't park their cars between the lines, so back off. There's no pressure.
Are you saying I can't park my car? Yeah. Thanks for the slap.
No, I'm saying half of our listeners probably can't park their cars in the lines. So a professional kicker is allowed to shank.
If you have a big giant truck, if you can't park it, you have no right owning it. That's my rant for the day.
So Mason Crosby had a shank. Whatever. He had a shank. I got over it within 3 seconds. Mason Crosby's having a good year. He's money right now, and you don't mess with a good thing. Mason Crosby trusts Tim Mastay, laces out Dan, and it's going to work. So you change holders middle of the season, kickers, they're head cases. They're worse head cases than QB1.
Oh, yeah, he's pretty good head casey now. So my kingdom for a quarterback whisperer, hey, Titletown sound off nerds, if you can find a quarterback whisperer, I'd be really happy.
The nerds.
The nerds. I love the nerds. So, yeah, these are my weekly hype for go check out Titletown Sound Off, the podcast. I am the penny to all of the nerds over there. I haven't quite decided who is Cooter Polly. Maybe it's Bobo. I haven't decided.
No.
But Jeremy's like, you're sitting in my seat. You're totally sitting in my seat.
No. I've had private conversations with each person it's episode of Cheers. Cheers.
Norm then.
Well, I think
you're Norm, aren't you? Norm.
No, I'm not part of the nerds. No.
You're the nerds. It's like roll out the nerds.
I think Jeremy is probably Sam.
Okay.
I think Bobo's got to be Cliff. Bobo's Cliff, and then Chris obviously is Norm.
Trivia.
Yep. And Chris, I'm not calling you Norm because Norm is a trace. I'm not saying that. I'm saying Chris is Norm because Norm is freaking hilarious.
Yeah. It's like Norm.
And everyone loves Norm.
Everyone loves Norm. Everyone loves Chris. So yeah, check out Titletown Sound Off. It's fun when I get to sub over there and go crazy nerds. So we're like out of time. We play the
defense
Lions,
Defense is good.
Do not let Golden
Tate
score. For the love of God, don't let them score.
And I'll just conclude with the I'll just conclude one thought on the defense. Sorry, we're talking to each other, which is bad.
I know.
Oh, but we're being cut off right now.
Oh, we are.
So roll the credits. We're total Hot Mess Express. We're rolling the credits. Roll Tide.
We always fall apart in the last minute. So, hey, CD's actually going to take us out to the end.
Roll Tide. Roll the credits.
How about that game? Ha-ha, Auburn.
Roll Tide.
Eddie Lacy, Mike Daniels, Gilbert Brown, Don Barclay, Micah Hyde, your Green Bay Packers, yesterday's legends and today's superstars. From corporate or non-profit events to private parties, add some spice, hire a Packers player from Mayfield Sports Marketing. For details, just go to PackersTalk.com and click on Player Appearances.
Are you looking for some signed Packer memorabilia?
Look no further than Waukesha Sports Card.
If the Green Bay Packer can sign it, Waukesha Sports Cards has it.
Check our website for upcoming Packer player and legend signings.
Go to WaukeshaSportsCards.com.